The Michael Duke Show, AM 700 KBYR News Time, 7:46 a.m. Welcome back to the program. Common sense is what we do each and every day. Right now, it is, of course, that time for technology and the discussions of how it intersects with careers and so on. As always, bringing us this great information is Dr. Tracey Wilen. She's a prominent thought expert. She's worked for big companies like Apple and Cisco and so many more, and she is on the cutting edge of technology and careers. She comes in today to talk to us about some of the hottest things going on out there. Good morning, Doc.
Oh, good morning.
Hey, thanks for coming on. So lots of interesting things happening in the marketplace of ideas today. We've been talking a lot, in fact, about things like the virtual reality. We've been having discussions about that and some of the other things. Let's start off there.
Sure. So big headlines this week. Facebook, Oculus Rift launched what they believe is going to be the best in virtual reality. It's pretty exciting. If you haven't experienced it, I haven't experienced the Oculus Rift version, but it's like putting on a helmet and you have gloves and then you're brought into this three-dimension experience.
Right.
And this is one of the predictions I had for 2016 is the whole virtual reality segment, which is a very large potential of over $150 billion. So lots of job potential there.
Well, we've been talking about this. I mean, we've been talking about virtual reality for years, obviously. I mean, to those of us that have been kind of on the tech side of the world watching these things happen. And of course, now we're here. And in fact, ironically enough, the guy who developed Oculus Rift actually came up to Alaska. The first person in the world to actually order one was from Alaska. So he came up and personally delivered it. And we thought that was pretty cool. But you're right. The opportunity is there because now everything has to be developed, and it really means a whole new frontier for everything from programming to hardware to technology, and the virtual reality is cool because it's so immersive. But where I see it, and maybe you'll weigh in on this, to me, the more important aspects and impacts are going to be on the augmented reality of how we can utilize it on a day-to-day basis in everything that we do.
Yes, and I think that's, the next wave. I think we're at the beginning stages of a new platform, and I always try to make people understand that when you see new platforms, this means job creation because you will use it in military, in healthcare, in entertainment, in business, in fashion. And as this develops, jobs will not just be in engineering. But, right, that's always the first area, but then it will move into sales and marketing and customer service. So if you're looking for a new direction or opportunities, it's big stuff.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think just the day-to-day applications of it makes it so much of a, let's face it, virtual reality is really predominantly for either for video consumption or for video gaming, for the most part, whereas augmented reality could be used for everything from navigation to workspace design to, engineering things. I mean, just so many different things you could do. It really opens up the field for that, and I think that's probably where things are going to be going. I think it will be bigger, in all honesty, than the actual VR world itself, just because as we learn to kind of develop and use it in ways that nobody ever imagined.
Yes, and I think that's where the opportunity can be. And I agree with you because augmented virtual reality just brings in another layer of reality. But what I get excited about is the immersive part. It's not like a distance gaming; you're rather in it.
Right.
And so I'm kind of curious to see what kinds of spin-off equipment will also be developed. I'm reading things like hoods, things that people don't necessarily have to have fully on their head or face,
right?
But they could become part of like a tent, right, or a whole experience inside. So it's pretty exciting stuff because it'll blend into a lot of areas.
Did you see the virtual reality the stand-up unit that they had where it puts a belt around your waist and you put socks on and you walk on this slick pad, and so you're not going anywhere, but it's like this big round disc, and then so you can walk, but you're not going anywhere, so you can walk inside the virtual Have you seen that whole setup?
Well, I saw they actually had it on on Shark Tank about a year or two ago when the first talks came out about Facebook buying Oculus Rift. So that's been my experience with it. I haven't been in it hands-on, but it looked pretty wild of them rolling around inside this ball and having an incredible experience. They say one of the things that people have experienced is a little bit of motion sickness.
Because it's so real. I mean, it really is. You get in there and you're just like, my brain can't process everything that's happening right here. I'm looking forward to, like you said, the full immersive activity of it, because, I mean, I like video games and everything else, and I've thought of a couple that I'd really like to be actually inside of. That would be kind of interesting. But as far as, the broader technology, it's going to be exciting times. It really is, and I'm happy to see things growing out there. The other big news, of course, in the internet world and the technology world this last week has been the reversal of the federal government in their suit against Apple. They were trying to force Apple, of course, to basically hack their own software and make their entire operating system less secure through a mandated court order. And they've since pulled that back, saying that they were actually able to find a third party to hack the phone. What say you?
Yep, I agree, and I think this is important because we talked about this as a key hiring area also earlier this year. It's believed that an Israeli company, a white hat, which means ethical hacker type of company, it's perceived that they assisted the government. And it's very interesting because the government doesn't feel compelled to share anything and they just drop the case. But the projection is there's be about 1 million cybersecurity job openings coming over the next few years. So this is another area that is emerging for people who are looking to put together their interest in technology, interest in hacking, and security together. And what I thought was interesting, that they actually had to go outside of the United States to find the people who are experts at this, and it would be great if we could find some people inside the United States with all this job openings and potential.
I thought that this was actually dangerous ground for the government, and I think one of the reasons why they this is just my opinion now, may have dropped this suit is because from a legal standpoint, they were using the All Writs Act, which was written in the late 1700s, and they were trying to fold and utilize this really old law into making it work. And I thought what was going to happen was that Apple would go up against them, and if they lost, it would set precedent so that they couldn't bring that forward anymore. And so I think that they saw this as an opportunity to protect future actions, and at the same time, now they feel like they've got to win. Now, they don't have to share with Apple how they got into the operating system, right?
Apparently not. They might, but I don't know. I have an Apple phone. It was funny because we all said, oops, look at that. We just got an update on Monday. So Apple probably went in and started to tinker with the code and fix it.
Yeah.
Right? Because somebody obviously knows how to get in. But I agree with you. I think a lot of people did want to see it play out. What would happen. And a lot of people said they didn't want to see it play out because it would have so many implications on future firms, and security such as Facebook and Google, and it would be a very challenging topic. What I'm happy about is that they were able to resolve it because it's life and security, and that's what we all care about. But it did signal to me that, unfortunately, they had to go outside of the United States to get the expertise, and I'd like to see more people inside the United States moving into some of these critical areas.
We're talking with Dr. Tracey Wilen right here on AM 700 KBYR. She's our technology expert. We talk about technology and careers and kind of the intersection of the two, and how they can blend together. We've been talking about virtual reality and now the Apple hack. You mentioned cybersecurity, obviously, in regards to the Apple hack, and we're hearing about it every day. We're hearing about people, losing their identities. We're hearing about accounts being hacked. We're hearing about our healthcare and our insurance and our private information ending up on the web, and various companies, big major name brand companies who, again, are, finding that they have a dearth of attacks against them and a real drought of true security on their systems. Is this going to be, in your opinion, one of the biggest open fields for jobs in the future?
Yes, in fact, Michael, usually when I get off of our call and other shows, I usually get flooded with cybersecurity firms asking me if anyone has called in, expressing interest, or self-identifying as someone who's, capable of moving and working for these firms because the demand is so high. And I usually don't get calls like that, but it's always the cybersecurity firms that reach out to me and say, if you know anybody, if any of your listeners are calling in, please, this is the future. We need the help. We need the talent.
And what are the, if I'm preparing myself or I'm preparing my children or my adult children for work what are the career paths that I should be focusing on to jump into the world of cybersecurity? What route should I be taking to get to that end game career path?
Well, obviously, cybersecurity is all about data and the protection of data, right? So there's a whole category there. There's people that we just need to, ethically hack and help, right, in government situations. And then we also need network protection, right? You have to protect the data, but then also you have the networks. So there's a variety of areas that people can actually explore. It just depends where your interests are. And I always, and I think the problem with technology is everyone jumps in and thinks immediately that they have to code. And yes, there are a lot of jobs with coding, don't get me wrong. But once you have these firms established, there are many other jobs that are created because firms need to have salespeople and customer support and marketing people to really help them grow. So I think it's more of looking at, are you interested in mobility and phones? Then maybe you want to move into security around phones. Are you interested in healthcare and securing people's information? Then look for opportunities there. So I think it's combining what you're interested in, what you do well, and what you like to do so that you can move into something you get paid for.
Right, and there's not all coding. It could be network infrastructure, it could be so many different all these different things are going on, and you can carve out your niche, but understand that this is where the demand is going to be.
Yes, and I think it's keeping on top of the news, looking at all of the tech shows such as yours to find out what's hot, what's in. I always say whatever's in the news a lot, that's where jobs are going to be. So if you see a lot of technologies in the news a lot, like virtual reality or cybersecurity, then you know that there's going to be a flurry of jobs surrounding it.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked about that. I mean, this is really, everything between telecommuting now with virtual reality. I mean, you start combining some of these technologies in the future. I mean, literally, you'll be having a video conference call with everybody in the same room virtually, but they'll be miles and worlds apart. And that's going to all take infrastructure, it's going to take programming, it's going to take hardware and everything in between. But that's where things are going. I mean, it'll be cheaper to buy one time $1,000 headset or appliance application instead of $1,000 plane ticket, and it pays for itself for the rest of time.
Yeah, so we could be sitting in our office chairs and experiencing snow together.
Right, exactly. I've experienced plenty of snow. You don't need any more of it. Hey, you can have all of mine. I'll give it all to you. Dr. Tracey Wilen has been our guest. You can find her at TraceyWilen.com. Doctor, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us. As always, it's a pleasure to speak with you on these topics.
Thank you so much.
All right.